In this video, I'm going to go through every single Apple product you can buy today on Apple's website and decide whether you should buy them or you should completely avoid them. Let's get straight into the video. So, the first set of products I want to talk about is the AirPods. Now, AirPods started off and they weren't that great. They connected really well to your iPhone, but the sound quality wasn't that great. The same goes with the AirPods second generation. They connect well with your iPhone and your iPad and any Apple product you've got, but the sound quality is just mediocre. So personally, I wouldn't say it's the worst Apple products that Apple have ever made. For the price these days, you can get much better alternatives that aren't made by Apple, or you can even spend an extra £50 and go for the AirPods third generation. I wouldn't recommend the AirPods second generation, especially if it's your first time buying AirPods today. Moving on from that, the AirPods third generation. Now these are basically just smaller versions of the second generation AirPods. They don't have any noise cancellation or transparency, but the sound quality is significantly improved. So if you're looking for a good pair of wireless earbuds, these are a really good set of headphones to look at. Now the most expensive set of wireless earphones that Apple create is the second generation AirPods Pros. Now these are by far the best earphones I've ever listened to. Sound quality is incredible, noise cancellation and transparency is really good, and just sound quality in general is top notch. And therefore, I absolutely do recommend getting these, and I've put these in A tier. The AirPods Max. These are some of the most loved pairs of headphones, but also some of the most hated. They're really well built, sound quality is incredible, noise cancellation and transparency yet again is top notch, but the pricing is very expensive, and that's kind of why most people don't like them. But if you're looking for some really premium headphones, get yourself some AirPod Maxes, you won't be disappointed. Now, I want to move on to the smart home side of things with Apple. So the smaller one of the two speakers, the HomePod Mini, this is extremely popular for Apple and they sell a ton of these, and to be honest, I think they're okay. I don't like the fact that they don't work with that many smart home devices, at least not as many as Google and Alexa are compatible with, but if you're looking for raw sound quality, no other smart home speaker at this kind of price matches the HomePod. So if you're looking for really good sound and you want to listen to some music, get yourself a HomePod Mini, you won't be disappointed. The big boy HomePod. The first one of these did not do well at all, but to be honest, Apple didn't really change much here. They kept the price pretty much the same. Sound quality is a little bit improved, but not massively improved. You can now remove the power cable, which is nice, but overall, it's a very expensive speaker, but it also is a very high quality speaker. So if you want some high quality sound, get yourself one of these. You can't complain with the HomePod. Now, this is one of my favourite products from Apple, and I brushed this one off to the side for quite a while, the Apple TV 4K. I thought, why do you need one of these when you can just get an Fire TV stick for a third of the price, fourth of the price? But if you've got AirPods and you've got an iPhone and you're already in the Apple ecosystem, the Apple TV is incredible. Now, to be honest, in terms of actual picture quality, you're not going to tell a difference between this and the Fire TV stick, but the one main reason why I like this so much is, one, you can view like photos and videos from your iPhone on the Apple TV, which is really nice. You can also connect your AirPods seamlessly with just one button and you get full spatial audio support. So when it's late at night and you don't want to wake everyone up around you, pop your headphones in, you can watch a film on the big screen and not wake everyone up. Not many people are probably going to agree with my decision on this one, but I've put these at the A tier. I think they're really good. This is one of my favourite products from Apple. Now, moving on to Apple Watches. Now, the bottom of the product line is the Apple Watch SE. I really like this product. I think it's a really good value product. If you're looking for an Apple Watch but you don't want to spend a ton of money, you just want the basic features, you cannot complain with this watch. You're not compromising on performance. All you're compromising really is the always on display, a little bit of a larger bezels, but even then it's not massively different. Yeah, for 250 quid, Apple Watch SE is a bargain. And whether it's a gift for someone or it's even for yourself, you'll love the Apple Watch SE. It's really good. So I'd give it a B. On the other hand, the Apple Watch Series 8. This is not a bad watch by any means, don't get me wrong here. It's an incredible watch, the features are top notch, but since the Series 7 it hasn't upgraded much at all. The only thing difference is there's now a temperature sensor if you want to track your menstrual cycle. That's the main difference really now from the Series 7 to the Series 8. And then from the Series 7 to the Series 6, the only major difference there is you get slightly smaller bezels. For me, I quite like that, but for most people, I aren't going to be bothered about that. You can even go for the Series 6 and you're getting 80% of the watch of the Series 8. So yeah, I'd give it a C grade. Not because the watch is bad, just because it needs a little bit of an update. Now, the Apple Watch Ultra. I personally have this watch and I don't do any extreme sports, but it's a nice watch to have. I've never been that big of a fan of the design of other Apple Watches. I think they're a bit boring, they don't look that great. The Apple Watch Ultra on the other hand looks awesome. I think it's really bulky. I like how bulky it is and how rugged it looks. I'm not going to kid myself that I'm going to use it for extreme sports. It's just a nice watch. It has 3 days of battery life mostly, and performance yet again is top notch for a watch. I don't use it for much really, I just have it as a watch, but I'm going to put it as an A grade because it has incredible potential to be used for top elite athletes, or if you just want a nice watch. Yeah, again, it's the best Apple Watch that's available. So you might not agree with me, but I'm giving it an A grade. Now, let's talk about iPads. Firstly, the iPad mini 6th generation. I've had this iPad and I wanted to love it, I really did. And don't get me wrong, it's not a bad iPad at all, but when it's not that much bigger than an iPhone 14 Pro Max and the screen's significantly worse, even so it's less powerful than the iPhone 14 Pro Max because it's got the A15 Bionic chip opposed to the A16, I struggled to get some use out of this iPad. And therefore, if you want a really small iPad, it's a really good tablet, but I just never found myself watching films on it because the screen was very mediocre compared to my iPhone, and overall it just wasn't very useful, and it just sat in my drawer for a little while and then I sold it on. So yeah, it's not a bad iPad by any means. I found it hard to make the most out of it, that's for sure. Now, the iPad 9th generation. This is the budget iPad that Apple sells. The price of this iPad is £370 in the UK, but all the time it goes on sale to $320, and at that price, it's a really, really good value iPad. And for people who just want the basic iPad to do basic things, you cannot complain with this iPad whatsoever. So whether it's for your grandparents or it's for your little kid, it's a really, really, really good tablet, and you get 80% of the features than the other iPad, but at a fraction of the cost. And yeah, it's not got the top end display, it still has the old design, but the people who are buying this don't need that. So I'm going to give it a B grade. I think it's a really, really good iPad, and for a lot of people, it's a perfect idea to buy this. The next iPad has climbed the ranks a little bit in my mind, and not because it's got any better over time, it's still the same iPad, but the prices of the iPad Air, the iPad Pro, they've all increased. It's kind of left this iPad in a bit of a weird situation where it's not a great iPad, but it's not bad for the price. And that iPad is the 10th generation iPad. When it first came out, it was definitely a bit of a controversial one. Not everyone liked it. I personally didn't like it either. It wasn't that impressive. And at the time, you could buy an iPad Air, which was significantly more powerful and better screen, had 2nd generation Apple Pencil support, all for about £60 more expensive. It was a no-brainer. But Apple have increased the price of the iPad Air to £649 in the UK. So now it's like, should I pay £150 more for the iPad Air, or should I just go for the £500 one? So it has kind of climbed the ranks a little bit. It's not a great iPad. I would say if you've got the money, go for the iPad Air. But if you need a basic iPad, this might be the one to go for. Now moving on from what I was just saying, the iPad Air. This is incredible value. You get the M1 chip that was featured in some of the MacBooks from 2020. The power of this iPad is unmatched. I don't think there are any other tablets that are outperforming this iPad, and I don't think there will for a long time. And if you're looking for an iPad that's going to last you a long time, the iPad Air is the one for you. So yeah, I'd put it as an A grade. So, the iPad Pro 11-inch. It's hard to say this thing is worth buying. mainly because you're getting the same processors as the iPad Air, you're not going to use the improved camera, and to be honest, you're not getting any better of a display out of this. I would say, unless you really want the 120Hz, stick to the iPad Air or go for the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, which is a huge upgrade. So, the iPad Pro 12.9-inch. Although the power of this iPad is exactly the same as the 11-inch, the screen is a huge improvement. Whereas you're just getting a standard IPS display on the 11-inch, you are getting a mini LED display that comes from the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros. So yeah, if you're looking for the top-notch display on any tablet, this is the one to go for. It's a huge improvement over the 11-inch. Let's move on to the MacBooks. So I want to start off with the 2020 MacBook Air M1. Now this was the first MacBook Air that came with the Apple Silicon chips. Started off with the M1 chip, and when it first came out it was incredible, and it is still a really good laptop. But if you're spending this much on a laptop, I would say spend £100, £150 more on the M2 chip, just because you're getting a newer design, it's going to look more modern for longer, the display is better, and it has got that improved chip. If you want to pay as little as possible for a really good MacBook, this is the one to go for. It's definitely dropped in the rankings a little bit as the time has gone on, but it's still a really solid laptop. Now, the MacBook Air M2. This is the latest 2022 model of the MacBook Air series, and it's one of my favourite laptops. Now, there's a couple of flaws with this laptop over the Pro models. One of the things is, if you don't go for an upgraded storage, you're going to get a much slower SSD speeds, but as well as this, the display isn't quite as good as the 14-inch MacBook Air, but to be honest, the people who are buying this aren't going to be too bothered about that. It's still a really solid display, but I think I'm just a little bit spoilt with my 14-inch MacBook Pro. So going back from that to the 500 nits Liquid Retina display is a bit of a downgrade. That's one of the main reasons why I wouldn't be able to go down to the MacBook Air. And yeah, same goes with the 15-inch MacBook Air. This has filled a massive hole in the product line for Apple's MacBooks. Anyone who wanted a big size laptop before had to go for the 16-inch Pro, and that was going to cost you about £2,500 at least. And most of the people who wanted a bigger screen didn't even need that power. So it was a big waste of money for people, and then they had to go for Windows laptops just to get that bigger screen size. So now, if you're needing a bigger laptop but you don't want to spend tons of money for the Pro laptops, this is the right one to go for, and for £1,400, it's still really good. Now, my least favourite products that Apple sells right now, the MacBook Pro 13-inch. I don't really know where this laptop fits in really, because it's more expensive than the MacBook Air, but it has exactly the same specs in every way. The screen is worse. You're getting an old design from like 2017. You're still getting a touch bar, but Apple have discontinued the touch bar anyway in their later models of laptops, so it's kind of pointless, and it isn't really supported in many apps, and you're paying at least £100 more just for the touch bar. So, save yourself a bit of money, get yourself the MacBook Air for cheaper, that has a newer design, and a better screen. I do not like this laptop at all, so it's going to be the first one that goes into the E-class. But on the opposite side of things, the MacBook Pro 14-inch, this is my current laptop right now, and it's one of the best laptops I've had, well, ever. It's incredibly powerful. The screen is the best of the best screen I've ever seen on a laptop. It gets really bright, and it does have that infinite contrast with the perfect black levels because of the mini LED display. Although there's a little bit of blooming around the contrasting areas, it's still really good. You do get a much brighter screen compared to if it was an OLED display. With the incredibly fast M2 Pro and M2 Max chips, with the really fast SSDs and RAM and unified memory, you can't go wrong. If you're looking for a high-end laptop and your software that you work on is supported on Mac, get yourself a MacBook Pro 14. You will not be disappointed. And same goes with the 16-inch. It's pretty much the same machine, just with a bigger screen and a bigger battery life. So both of them are going right at the top in A class. Now, moving on to the desktop machines that Apple sell, the Mac Mini is the cheapest of the bunch, and to be honest, it's a really powerful machine for the price. It starts off at £599 in the UK, and you would find it extremely difficult to build a PC that matches the power that you can get out of the Mac Mini for this price. And with the same specs that are in the MacBook Air M2 for half the price, if you don't need a laptop and you just want to get the power out of it, get yourself a Mac Mini, you will not be disappointed. It's a really powerful machine, and if you want even a little bit more power, you can upgrade it to the M2 Pro chips with increased RAM and storage from £1,400. So yeah, the Mac Mini, I'll put it in B tier. It's definitely not perfect, but it's incredibly good. Now, moving on to the beefier machines, the Mac Studio. This is my favourite machine that Apple sells right now. Starting at £2,099, you're getting the exact same performance out of this as you would get out of the M2 Max MacBook Pro for almost half the price. So yet again, if you don't need a laptop and you don't need to take it on the go with you, get yourself one of these, and you can even upgrade this all the way up to the M2 Ultra chips, which is Apple's most powerful chip right now. So yeah, I'm going to put it in A tier. It's one of my favourite machines that Apple sell and have created in a long time. So yeah, you can't go wrong with this. Now unfortunately, I can't say the same about the Mac Pro. Everyone expected this to be a huge improvement from any other machine that Apple have ever created after they switched to Apple Silicon. But it was kind of underwhelming. They basically just stripped the processor out of the top-end Mac Studio, the M2 Ultra chip, and just put it in a massive case. They didn't really change much really, except add PCIe ports. You can't even put video cards in there. So the only thing you can really do is put sound cards, storage expansion cards. There's not really much you can do with it, and for the extra £3,000 just to have a massive machine, it's not really worth the money. I would say, unless you have a specific reason for the PCIe slots, don't go for the Mac Pro. Get yourself the Mac Studio with the M2 Ultra chip. The performance is exactly the same and at a fraction of the size and the cost. So yeah, it's definitely not the worst product Apple have ever made, but I don't recommend it. So put it in the D section. Now, iPhones. Let's start it off with one of the worst iPhones Apple sells. Well, the worst. The iPhone SE. This is advertised as Apple's budget iPhone, but to be honest, I don't think anyone should really pick up this phone. If you're really on a budget, get yourself a second-hand iPhone 13 for the same price, or an iPhone 12. Although it does have the A15 Bionic chip, the battery life is shocking, and you are getting a really old design that came with the iPhone 8. So unless you really want a home button, avoid the iPhone SE at all costs. So yeah, it's going to be the second product that goes in the E class. Now, the iPhone 12. This, when it came out, it wasn't exceptional in any way, but it was a really good phone. To be honest, over time it hasn't aged too well. A lot of people are having to upgrade now from the iPhone 12 to the later iPhone 14 models. The A14 Bionic chip is a little bit outdated now, so I would say if you can afford it, upgrade to either the iPhone 13 or one of the iPhone 14 Pro models. So yeah, the iPhone 12 is not worth buying in 2023. Now, the iPhone 13. This is one of my favourite phones that's out right now. It's 95% of the phone that the iPhone 14 is for £100 cheaper. It's a no-brainer. The major thing you're missing out on is crash detection. You can also film in 4K in cinematic mode on the iPhone 14, whereas you can't on the iPhone 13. But apart from those two features, it's worth getting the iPhone 13, saving a bit of cash, and the phone looks exactly the same processor, everything's the same except those two features pretty much, and a couple of the minor changes. Now, the iPhone 14. This is one of my least favourite phones that's out right now. It's exactly the same, like I just said, to the iPhone 13. Just don't buy it, it's not worth it. Wait for the iPhone 15 if you want a standard phone. That's going to be a bigger upgrade over the iPhone 14 compared to the 13. It's £100 more expensive and not much of an improvement at all really. Now, last but not least, in terms of the iPhones, the iPhone 14 Pro and the Pro Max. These two phones are incredible. They added the dynamic island, it's a better camera system, a couple of new colours, an increase in battery life. Overall, it's a really solid improvement in the phones. So yeah, It's the best phone Apple sell right now. It's going in A class. So yeah, that's my completed tier list for the Apple products you can buy in 2023. Let me know what you think down below, whether you disagree or agree with some of my decisions. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, let me know down below, leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you later. Goodbye.